Prabhu he emona durmati samsara bitore poriachinu ami. Taba nija jan kono mahajane. Taba nija jan kono mahajane pataiya dile tumi. Doya kori more patita dekia kohilo amare gia. Ohe nina jan shuno balo kota. Ulasita habehia. Tomare tarite Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Nabadipe avatar. Tomaheno koto dinahina jane. Korelena baba pa. Vedera pratigya raki baratore rugma barna viprasuda. Mahaprabhu name Nadia Matai. Mahaprabhu name Nadia Matai Sange Paya Baduda. Mahaprabhu name Nadia Matai Sange Paya Baduda. Nanda Sutta Chini Chaitanya Gosai Nijanama Koridana. Tarilo Jagat Tumio Jaya. Tarilo Jagat Tumio Jaya. Loho Nija Parijana. Sekata Shunya Asya China Tomara Charana Tole. Bhakate Vinoda Kandiya Kandiya. Bhakate Vinoda Kandiya Kandiya Apana Kahine Bole. Bhakate Vinoda Kandiya Kandiya Apana Kahine Bole. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Okay. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gaurva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwa Gurunsha Divyad Bhagavat Premno Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Baranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sarega Varanam Vairagya Vidyambudim Shri Siddhantanidim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyashishvara Sridharam Manchakopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the hidden treasure of the sweet absolute, with translation and commentary by Srila Bhakti Rakshak, Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj. And we're reading from the second chapter, Sankhya-yoga, the constitution of the soul. So we'll start now with text number 38.
Oh wait, is chapter 2?
I thought we were
Yeah.
chapter 3.
I made a mistake. We're finishing chapter 2 from yesterday, right?
Pardon me?
I thought we finished chapter 2. We didn't.
No, we're halfway through chapter 2. Can you get some water, please? Oh, I guess Pitambar went and got it.
Where did he go?
I don't know. Okay. Sukha dukke same kritva laba labo jaya jayo tato yudhaya jujasva naivam papam avapshasi. Considering pleasure and pain, gain and loss, and victory and defeat to be one and the same, fight. No sin will be incurred by you. Eshe te bihita shankye budhir yoge tvimam shrinu budya yukto yaya parta karma bandham prahashyasi. I have revealed to you this knowledge, Buddhi of the soul. Now hear from me how to act in this knowledge, Bhakti Yoga, through which you will be able to free yourself from the bondage of action. Commentary. It will be revealed that Buddhi Yoga, yoga of wisdom, is a singular path. When Buddhi Yoga is seen to be limited by the ideal of action, it is known as Karma Yoga. When it extends beyond action up to the peak of knowledge, it is known as Jnana Yoga or Sankhya-yoga. And when transcending the limitations of both action and knowledge, it touches bhakti or devotion, it is then known as Bhakti Yoga or perfectly pure and complete Buddhi Yoga. This is from commentary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, this verse is, Esha te bihita shanke buddhir yoge vimam shrinu buddhya yukto yaya parta karma bandham rahashyasi. I have revealed to you this knowledge, Buddhi of the soul. Now hear from me how to act in this knowledge, Bhakti Yoga, through which you will be able to free yourself from the bondage of action. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo navidyate svapamapi ashyadharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. On this path there can be no loss and no harm. The slightest practice of such a spiritual ideal saves one from the greatest fear. It's a very nice verse. Neha bhikrama nashosti pratyavayo navidyate svalvamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. On this path there can be no loss and no harm. The slightest practice of such a spiritual ideal saves one from the greatest fear. Commentary. Mahabhaya, the greatest fear, is generally considered to be the fear of repeated birth and death in this world. But Mahabhaya also refers to Sayuja Mukti, the liberation of merging into the impersonal, non-differentiated consciousness of Brahmaloka, Viraja, or a kind of impersonal samadhi. Renunciation alone leads to Sayuja Mukti, the cessation of birth and death, but not to life in the positive plane. It takes one to a permanent burial in Brahmaloka. The demon of Mukti will devour one wholesale, and therefore it is even more dangerous than this ordinary life of action and reaction. Mukti means a strike in the organic system, so it must be avoided. For example, to either ignore duties in a factory or to declare a strike by cessation of duties are both abnormal. Bhukti, exploitation, and mukti, renunciation, are both fearsome ghosts. Therefore, here Mahabhaya means the great apprehension of falling prey to both the ghost of exploitation leading to birth and death, as well as the ghost of committing suicide by merging into the impersonalism of incarceration in Brahmaloka, fear of both Bhogabhumi, the land of exploitation, and Tyagabhumi, the plain of renunciation. It is stated in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Bhukti Mukti Spriya Yavat Pisachi Ridi Vartate Tavad Bhakti Sukashyatra Katam Abhyudayo Bhavet. The ecstasy of devotion to Krishna will never appear in a heart that is haunted by the ghost of exploitation and renunciation. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi yanavritam anukuyena Krishna nushilanam bhaktir uttama. The highest devotion is that which is cultivated for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Krishna, with no desire except to serve him, and divested of all external attempts such as worldly action, knowledge in search of the impersonal absolute, or the meditational attempt to become one with God. Only the Supreme Lord is abhaya, beyond apprehension. Therefore, nothing but participation in his service can free one from the ghost of exploitation and renunciation, bhukti and mukti. If we subtract bhukti and mukti, then only positive bhakti, devotion, is the remainder. Therefore, without devotion, everything is mahabhaya, great danger. So this verse is Neha bikrama nashosti pratyavayo navidyate svalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. On this path there can be no loss and no harm. The slightest practice of such a spiritual ideal saves one from the greatest fear. So it says here, words of Krishna, the slightest practice of this can save one from the greatest fear. So it is natural, everyone is fearful in this world, and we have seen that. We can know by theory that we're eternal spiritual souls, we're the eternal servant of Krishna. So that's good, that beginning of understanding, because we see that in this world, actually the nature of the jiva soul, is that the jiva soul is eternal. where Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastani indriyani Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastani indriyani prakriti-stani karshati. That the spirit soul, all persons, are part and parcel servants of Krishna. Jiva bhuta sanatana. All mamai vamso jiva bhuta mamai vamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The spirit soul is eternally related with the Lord. And Krishna is explaining that. But he says right now everyone has forgotten that our eternal existence, our eternal identity. And everyone's was struggling very hard with the material nature. Manashastan indriyani. They're struggling with the six senses, which include the mind. And that's in that position, a hard struggle for existence is going on. So on that level, we can say exploitation, the plane of karma. Then people have this fear because they're naturally, in order to engage in that plane, you have to be in bodily consciousness. And then there's forgetfulness of their one's spiritual existence, and the body is subject to birth and death. So people are naturally fearful in that way. But in the purport here, Srila Sridhar Maharaj also talks about the plane of becoming one with the Absolute, merging into the Absolute. And we have heard that referred to as a suicidal position. As Mahaprabhu says, the spirit soul is eternally a servant of the Lord. So, but in the position of this so-called impersonal realization, one loses one's own individual existence, and one loses one's service relationship with the Lord. So that is even a greater danger than the danger of falling prey to birth and death repeatedly. The danger of merging into the existence of the Lord is actually a worse situation. Therefore, we see that path of jnana yoga that is full of so many difficulties. Many times we have seen persons who take to that path, their success is not anything assured. And even Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that path is fraught with so much difficulty. And so one verse explains, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ateva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakaliya Shanta. Only a person who is a devotee of the Lord, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, has no desires on any level, for either in terms of bhukti or mukti. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, because he's free from desires, Ateva Shanta. Therefore, that person is peaceful. And as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, without peace, how is there any possibility of happiness? Without some level of peace, no possibility of happiness. So Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateva Shanta, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakaliya Shanta. But everyone else, whether one is a materialist or the karmi, as we would sometimes say, a popular word from previous engagements and with devotees, would be a denigration of karmis, fruitive workers. So bhukti mukti siddhi kami. So the person who's interested in karma or enjoying that plane of physical enjoyment, material enjoyment, they want bhukti. They want that enjoyment. Bhukti mukti. And the jnanis, they want liberation. Bhakti Mukti Siddhi Kami. And the yogis, they want some yogic perfection, like anima siddhi. There's, there's the Ashta-yoga, the yoga system that has 8 different cities that one can attain. Anima Siddhi, Prapti Siddhi, Lagima Siddhi, all these different cities, which we've heard our acharyas explain, they're actually material cities. Of course, some of them can't be obtained, like the possibility of achieving the impossible. Although some people will attribute that to actions that they have realized. But for instance, the Lagima Siddhi, which is the ability to levitate, to float. We see that big airplanes, like commercial airliners, they can carry hundreds of people and they can float in the air. Doesn't just a yogi may levitate, which is certainly a siddhi, but the materialist, they are able to accomplish something akin to that on the mundane level. They can float in the air with an airplane. They can anima siddhi. They can make themselves very small. So we are also able to see within that microscopic world. Now we're seeing the results of that microscopic world, the effect it has on modern civilization. So they're looking for a cure for they're always looking for a cure for something of material existence. But those are the different levels of yogic perfection. So Bhakti Mukti Siddhi Kami. But they're Sakali Ashanta. The verse is mentioning, I believe it's from the Padma Purana, but it's saying that all of these persons, because they have material desires, they're never peaceful. Only Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, Ateva Shanta. Only the devotee is actually calm. Only the devotee is actually without any fear. But here also this verse mentions from the Gita that even a little bit of advancement will free one from that fear. Just so someone who engages in this path, they never will be the loser. They'll always gain something by their engagement in devotional service. And it's not like the Gyanis, they think that when one attains liberation, then that is a successful end to everything. Well, that's the end to their individuality. But elsewhere, Krishna mentions, he says, Brahma Bhuta Prashanatma Nashochati Nakangshati Samasarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. He says, on the plane of spiritual realization, it's not that it ends with so-called liberation, of merging with the Supreme, but actually on the plane of liberation, relief from all the entanglements of karma and gyan, mad bhaktim labate param. That's when devotional service begins. So, and here we find very positive message mentioned here by Krishna, that even some engagement in this, even beginning engagement in this, can relieve one from fear. So I'll go on now. Yep. What? Vyavasayatmika buddher ekeha kurunandana bahushakya yanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam vyavasayatmika buddher ekeha kurunandana bahushakya yanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. O descendant of the Kuru dynasty, resolute intelligence dedicated to me is one-pointed. I am its only objective. But irresolute intelligence is splayed by endless desires for mundane enjoyment. O descendant of the Kuru dynasty, and this is to Arjuna, he's also a descendant of the Kuru dynasty, although they're fighting against the Kauravas, who are all also of that same dynasty. But, O a descendant of the Kuru dynasty, resolute intelligence dedicated to me is one-pointed. I am its only objective. But irresolute intelligence is splayed by endless desires for mundane enjoyment. So this is the nature of mundane enjoyment. It's not focused. It's splayed. The intelligence is splayed. It's going in all directions because the senses are meeting up with different objects of the senses. And it is also noted by endless desires for mundane enjoyment. One will never be satisfied with mundane enjoyment. One thing will always lead to another. It's not that when one attains some goal that one has set, one thinks that by becoming wealthy, that will be the end of all one's endeavors and then one will be successful. But were that true, we would see that people with money, people with wealth, they're happy. But we don't see any axiom that a wealthy person is always happy. In fact, often we see the opposite. And so it goes. A person achieves one goal and then immediately they're looking for another goal. But here, Krishna is telling Arjuna, the resolute intelligence dedicated to me is one-pointed. I am its only objective. And I always like to hear that Srila Govinda Maharaj, he remarked of Yudamanyu Prabhu. He said, he did not ask me many questions. He only asked, do you want this? That was his only concern, that he's approaching Shri Gurudev, and he is asking him, do you want this? That is his only desire, to satisfy the Lord by satisfying the Lord's devotee. In this case, Srila Govinda Maharaj. Whatever Govinda Maharaj wants, he will engage in. And so many years we see, he was in China. Now, I've been to China, and most other people, they can't stay there for more than 10 days. Although we see some devotees were working there. But that is very unusual. Most persons cannot survive in that atmosphere very long. And it wasn't like Yudamanyu was enchanted by being there. But because he was doing this as a service to Gurudev, he went on with that service for many years. And in the process, he had some genuine, heartfelt relations with devotees, that he was very much, a friend to everyone, taking care of them. And they became very attached to him and wanted to satisfy them. And that opened up their spiritual life. But we see here, as Krishna is saying, resolute intelligence dedicated to me is one-pointed. The only focus is to satisfy the Lord. Of course, we see satisfying the spiritual master as the same as satisfying the Lord. Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avipaschita vedavara rataparta nanyad astiti varina. O Partha, unwise persons, not knowing that the chief directive of the Vedas is the attainment of the supreme truth, are fond of interpreting the fleetingly enchanting words of the Karmakanda section of the Vedas as ultimate. So naturally the Karmakanda section of the Vedas is how that you can advance by following the principles of karma, not vikarma. Vikarma will be sin, actions with a reaction, actions that will produce some sinful reaction. But in this case, we're talking of karmakanda section that leads to enjoyment. So many persons think, oh, this is the purpose of the Vedas, in order to be able to regulate your life so that you can attain some level of enjoyment. Kamatmana svargapara janma karma falapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishvarya gatim prati. Their hearts are filled with desires, and their goal is heaven. They advocate the many sacrifices and rituals that yield wealth, worldly pleasures, and high birth. But we see that's not Mahaprabhu's words. Mahaprabhu's words are Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadishaya Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhadvatad Bhaktir Ahaitukitvaye. He says, I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in enjoyment. I'm not interested in following just mechanically the principles of Dharma or having any followers. I'm not interested in wealth. I'm not even interested in liberation. I'm only interested in your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. But we hear of those persons especially attached to the Karmakanda section of the Vedas. Their hearts are filled with desires and their goal is heaven. They advocate the many sacrifices and rituals that yield wealth, worldly pleasures, and high birth. Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam tayaparita chedasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samado na vidhiyate. Thus, attached to enjoyment and opulence, deluded by these flowery words of the Vedas, they do not attain the resolve to dedicate themselves to the Supreme Lord. Thus, attached to enjoyment and opulence, deluded by these flowery words of the Vedas, they do not attain the resolve to dedicate themselves to the Supreme Lord. So what is that resolve referred to? Here it's called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. That focused intelligence upon serving the Lord. And we see that this is not subject to time and place or the limitations. Normally we find that most people who are engaged in religion, their religion is adjusted to the time and place, the circumstances in which they find themselves, and therefore some knowledge, some information is given to them according to their capacity to understand it. But this is different from that kind of religion, because there is no limitation in the service of the Lord. It's not subject to time and place. It's as we heard previously, it's Sanatan Dharma. It's the eternal engagement of the soul. Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvanvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Shema Atmavan. O Arjuna, the Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature by accommodating fruitive action and liberation as an allowance and incentive for persons who are ignorant of the true objective of the Vedas. But you, Arjuna, give up duality in all pursuits for gain and preservation. Stand ever in the plane of truth, and by the yoga of wisdom, transcend the modes of nature. The objective of the Vedas is transcendental. Without fruitive action or liberation, O Arjuna, follow the transcendental path of devotion to the Lord as taught by the Vedas. O Arjuna, the Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature by accommodating fruitive action and liberation as an allowance, an incentive for persons who are ignorant of the true objective of the Vedas. But you, Arjuna, give up duality in all pursuits for gain and preservation, stand ever in the plane of truth, and by the yoga of wisdom transcend the modes of nature. The objective of the Vedas is transcendental. Without fruitive action or liberation, O Arjuna, follow the transcendental path of devotion to the Lord as taught by the Vedas. So, Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, he's saying that Vedaischa sarvairham eva vedya vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham sarvasya chaham ridisani visto mata smriter jnanamad pavanam cha Vedaischa sarvam eva vedyo vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. That I'm the knower of the Vedas, and by the Vedas I'm all that is to be known. But some persons, they're attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, and they're given some incentive to follow the Vedas where they can gather some kind of enjoyment or have a goal of liberation. But we find that when Narad Muni spoke with Vedavyas prior to giving him instructions on the Srimad Bhagavatam, he heavily chastised, or as Bimala would say, heavily chastised. Heavily chastised, Narad Muni chastised Vedavyas for confusing people, to give them some kind of false ideal, the ideal of enjoyment or the regulated enjoyment. Which is not a very good idea, because as Srila Prabhupada remarks in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that there is always a chance of an accident even on the royal highway. Meaning you can be under the guidance of the Vedas, but if your goal is enjoyment, you're always subject to the enchantment of the senses for the object of the senses, and your intelligence may be carried away. Just as any one of the objects that meets up with the objects of the senses, any one of the senses that meets up with the object of the senses can carry away the intelligence even of a controlled person. So Narad Muni, he reprimanded Vedavyas for presenting him with some kind of false, you're giving people some false ideals. This is not what it's all about. Yavan arta udapane sarvata samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanata. As all the purposes served by several ponds can be served better by a large lake, similarly, the fruits of worshiping the various gods by their respective Vedic prayers are surpassed by serving me, the knower of Brahman, who thus knows the purport of the Vedas fulfills all life's objectives. As all the purposes served by several ponds can be served better by a large lake, similarly, the fruits of worshiping the various gods by their respective Vedic prayers are surpassed by serving me, the knower of Brahman, who thus knows the purport of the Vedas fulfills all life's objective. So, there's one verse in the Bhagavad Gita. What is it? Kamaistaista rita jnana. Let's see. It's in the 7th chapter. We especially use this verse when we were living in India because many people, of course, worship different demigods. But this verse says, Kamaistaister rita-jnana prapadyante nya devita tam niyamamastaya prakritya niyatasvaya. Kamaistaister rita-jnana prapadyante nya devita tam niyamamastaya prakritya niyatasvaya. Persons misled by worldly desires, being governed by their own natures, worship other godly personalities like the sun god and the many demigods, adopting the corresponding rituals to attain their objectives. And it says, here it uses the words kamaistaister, which is by kama, their intelligence is misled. Kamaistaister, because they're under the dictations of kama, of desire for enjoyment. They're lacking intelligence. Kamaistaister rita-jnana prapadyante nya devata. And therefore they surrender to the worship of many different gods. And this god can satisfy this, and that god can satisfy this. But that is they're losing. They're not catching what is the real purpose of following the principles of the Vedas. As all the purposes served by several ponds can be served better by a large lake, similarly, the fruits of worshiping the various gods by their respective Vedic prayers are surpassed by serving me. The knower of Brahman, who thus knows the purport of the Vedas, fulfills all life's objectives. And therefore we find the prayer expressed that I'm giving up that, service to the demigods, service to my ancestors, service to the principles of society, service to all these different obligations that one is born with some debt when he or she comes into this world. I'm giving up on all those things because I have found connection with the service of the Lord, and I feel that is enough for me. Karmani eva dikaraste ma phaleshu karachana na karma phalaheturbur mate sangos svakarmani. Your right is to your work, never to the fruits. Be neither motivated by the fruit of action nor inclined to give up action. Your right is to your work, never to the fruits. Be neither motivated by the fruit of action nor inclined to give up action. Now you can see how contrary this advice is to material existence. Because if we told somebody in this material world, you have a right to perform your work, but you're not entitled to any pay, then how many persons would accept that position? You have a right to work hard and perform your work, but you're not entitled to the fruits. You're not entitled to a paycheck. Be neither motivated by the fruit of action nor inclined to give up action. So this would be contrary to the ideals of material existence, to work hard but not be motivated by the fruits of working. Normally people will have so many ideals that they're working for, and then they have a credit card, and then they can max out their credit card, and they're working hard then to just pay the debts of their credit card. But Krishna is saying, you're right. You have a right to your work, but not to the fruits. The fruits are to be offered to the Lord. Be neither motivated by the fruit of action nor inclined to give up action. So you're not entitled to the fruits of your action, so don't be motivated by the rewards of that work. And don't be inclined to give up the work, because someone will think, well, if I'm not getting no fruits for me, then I don't want to work. I'll just quit. If I'm not getting the fruits, what? I'm not getting the fruits of my action? Then I quit. I resign. But here, this is the idea of devotion. And therefore we use the word Krishna Das. Sometimes Guru Maharaj translates Krishna Das as being a slave of the Lord. Now, obviously, in the modern world, nobody wants to hear that kind of terminology, that you're a slave of the Lord. But in effect, this is something of our ideal. But as harsh as it may sound, it is actually very beautiful, because by serving the Lord instead of one's own ego, one actually encounters and finds true happiness, true purpose. But that's something that the devotee can understand, and it won't be immediately apparent to those who take the devotional service, those who are beginning. Of course, this is the second chapter, and this is Krishna speaking, and he's giving some philosophy and this Sankhya-yoga. Now, this is not necessarily going to be the predominating idea when we attain to the higher levels of devotion. But this is to give some idea of selfless action, in which one should engage oneself. Yogasta kuru karmani sangam chaktva dhananjaya siddhi asidhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchate. O Dhananjaya, give up the ego that you are the doer and be equipoised in success and failure. Thus stand firm in the plane of yoga and do your prescribed duties. Such a state of balance is indeed known as yoga. Durena I avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddho sharanam anvichya kripana phalahetav. O Dhananjaya, fruit of action is far inferior to this yoga of wisdom. Those motivated by the fruits of their actions are misers. Therefore seek refuge in the selfless wisdom of equanimity. O Dhananjaya, fruit of action is far inferior to this yoga of wisdom. Those motivated by the fruits of their actions are misers. If that's all there is to your, as a motivation for your action, is that you'll enjoy the fruits of those resulting from your action, then you're actually a miser. Therefore, seek refuge in the selfless wisdom of equanimity. Buddhi yukto jahatiya ube sukrita duskrite tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karma sukoshalam. The wise person abstains from both good and bad actions in this world. Engage thus in yoga, as yoga is the art of all works. So that's a very nice phrase here. Yoga yushva sakarmasu. Yoga karmasu koshalam. Yoga karmasu koshalam. That yoga is the art of all works. Yoga karmasu koshalam. In yoga, koshalam, the expertise, karmasu, of action. So buddhi yukto jahatiya ube sukrita duskrite tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karmasu koshalam. We heard that expression said by Srila Govinda Maharaj. Yoga karmasu koshalam. The wise person abstains from both good and bad actions in this world. Engage thus in yoga, as yoga is the art of all works. Of all endeavor, yoga is the art. Yoga karma sukoshalam. So, does anyone have a question?
Yoga means union, no?
Huh?
Yoga means union.
Yoga means to make a connection. Yoga means to make a connection, to achieve a connection with the Lord.
It's a really beautiful idea that yoga is the art of all works.
Yoga. Yoga karma sukoshalam. Yoga is the art of all work. So, we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay. Okay. So, we don't have a kartal player.
She's coming, she's transferring.
I believe that, this situation that we have where the devotees are not coming to the temple, on some persons is I believe in general, it's very difficult for the persons, very difficult for people. Then maybe, the saying, what is the saying? Absent makes the heart grow fonder. So, when one takes something for granted, like to be able to come to the temple, and all of a sudden we see that one cannot come to the temple so easily, then it makes people appreciate what it means to come to the temple. And that, yeah. And we're very fortunate to be here in this beautiful place. We're not in the middle of a city. We're in the middle of a very beautiful place dedicated to the service of Govinda Maharaj. And all right. Hari Harai Nama Krishna Jarabhaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Manana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raguna H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jahoite Vignana Shabista Puran H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas Tasavar Padarenu Mora Panchagras Sevi Bhakta Saniba Janame Janame More Abhilash Hachai Gosai Jabe Braje Kolabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamara Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamara Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Garanga Gandharvika Giridhariju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Sunanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premzigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Bhagavad Ki Jai. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham ki jai, Shri Ram Mayapur ki jai, Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Saparshada Shri Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Koladvip ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Soquel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai, all the assembled devotees ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.